Welcome to Opening Bid. I'm Yahoo Finance Executive Editor Brian Sozzi. Now let's make some money and get a lot smarter. But first, before all of that, some hot market analysis that you need to know. And here's where my brain is at right now. 6 things to help you survive and thrive for NVIDIA earnings day, which is August 28th. A little bit of pure-on craziness for NVIDIA. Why the heck not? First 2 things you must hear from NVIDIA on this earnings call in the evening, 5 p.m., Jensen Huang. 2 things you need to hear. First up, is there a near-term fix to reported delays in NVIDIA's Blackwell AI chips? The market wants to hear that there is no fundamental problem. If there is a fundamental problem, it could be bad for NVIDIA stock. Number 2, investors want to see sequential accelerating growth in NVIDIA's data center business. How that would happen or why it would happen is because people are buying a lot of AI chips. So those 2 things are must deliver for NVIDIA and all you bulls out there. Now, the other 4 things are this. You have to also consider these 2 things as well, all of which I think suggest that NVIDIA could put up a very good quarter. First up, Taiwan Semiconductor noted strong AI demand in its earnings release. That's a good thing. Next up, AMD raised its full year guidance for its data center business for the 3rd straight time in a year. Good thing. Supermicro, one of the hottest tickers on Yahoo Finance, calling out strong demand for its liquid cooling products. Good thing. And last but not least, you see all those memes out there of Mark Zuckerberg and Jensen Huang hanging out, exchanging jackets. Of course, Huang giving that leather jacket to Mark Zuckerberg. Meta raised its CapEx guidance for this year by billions of dollars, hinted at an even bigger increase for next year. That is good for NVIDIA chips, which Meta is using. And again, some hot market analysis to kick off your day. You're welcome. Let's continue our thread here. Let's stay on tech. I'm in a tech type of mind. Here with me now is Gerber Kawasaki, President and CEO, Ross Gerber. Ross, good to see you. Loyal Twitter follower. Good to see you in the flesh. I know you're a very busy guy, managing billions of dollars of money and trying to keep all your fans at bay on social media.
Yeah, social media has been a little bit, challenging now that X has been sort of destroyed by Elon. It's sadly, it's become much more divisive and less effective. And I think for me, one of the saddest things is it's harder to get good information now,
Yeah, and really, you are a real professional doing real business. What do you make? I mean, we're going to talk about Elon. We're going to do all that stuff. I mean, that's one of the beauties of having a podcast. But what do you make of just the state of the investment industry? I mean, you have a pro such as yourself. You're putting out, I think, views that are backed up by solid fundamental research and knowledge of markets and investing. But there are a lot of folks out there on these social media platforms spewing guidance on Tesla, X, you name it, whatever, that it doesn't appear right.
Yeah, I think caveat emptor, if you're on social media looking for financial advice, you are taking a risk, all right? Because you, like all medias, you kind of want to understand the source and why the source is saying what they're saying. And there used to be a ton of great analysis on Twitter. But today, it's really, if you don't toe the line for Elon, you're just attacked and bullied. It's kind of like going to, that scene in Blues Brothers when the band goes into the country bar and they have the cage in front of them and everybody's throwing beer bottles at them and stuff. And that's kind of what Twitter's like if you're not a fan of Elon, And I think one of the things I say is imagine Tesla stock, just take the ticker off and just look at it like XYZ Corporation and just look at the numbers and look at the business and tell me what you think it's worth. And everybody comes up with a number that's about half what Tesla's trading at, And so to try to justify 100 price earnings ratio and to try to justify the constant promises that are either delayed or just never happen. I use the products. I have a Cybertruck. I have a Plaid. Full self-driving still doesn't work. I don't care how many videos they post about how close it is. It's just either it works or it doesn't work, And after years of doing this, I've just kind of tired of it, where it's look, this full self-driving goal is extremely difficult. And it's not going to get solved this year. And at some point, somebody's going to have to accept some reality on the difficulty of the task and the time it's going to take to really master this. And certainly the hardware and software that needs to still be built to make it safe. Mm-hmm. A simple example is that Tesla still don't recognize emergency vehicles. If you're in a fire truck or a police car, the Tesla doesn't know. Doesn't know the sirens are on, it can't hear. Doesn't see the sirens doesn't see the sirens. So, if a police car is speeding by you, 70 miles per hour, the Tesla doesn't know any more than any other car speeding by you. And these are the types of things that make driving so hard. Now, I don't blame Elon or Tesla. I just think the task is much harder than they realize, you know?
I think I respect a lot more the good old Ford Crown Victoria police cars. After that discussion, I mean, I respect the lights, Ross. I'm totally digging. I made fun of them for many years, but I guess they make a lot of sense to me. Are you still a Tesla shareholder?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're still shareholders in Tesla, and Tesla going back 5 years was a large investment we made a huge return on between 2018-19 into 2021, right? And we started taking profits, even back in the old days. But, in the last, I think it was about a year ago when things started going real south with Elon and politics and sales were being affected, and we saw clients and customers not wanting to buy Teslas anymore and wanting to sell their stock. We lowered our position, substantially, but we still own, I think I just filed my 13F, something like 266,000 shares of Tesla worth about $50 million. And there's various reasons why we still own it. Some of it is just taxes because, it's like I got to pay taxes on everything I sell. And then part of it is, I still believe very much that they make the best EVs in the world and they have this wonderful brand despite its tarnishment. And I think they are leaders in autonomy, and it's solvable. It just might take longer. But what I think is now that Elon isn't focused on building Tesla. And so that's another existential problem. So over time, I've just been sort of lowering my position because I just don't have the same confidence that they're going to achieve the goals that were set out for Tesla several years ago and even recently, which is really to sell more cars. So we can scrape all this robotic crap out of this conversation, like robo cars, robots, that's just a distraction from the fact that they need to sell cars this year and next year and the year after, because none of this is coming anytime soon. And so if we don't sell cars, how does the stock go up? And so right now it's just on hope,
There's a couple. I'll follow your lead a little bit here, Ross. I had recently talked to let's say a very passionate retail Tesla investor, noting that they see the stock going to $10,000. To me, I'm a trained stock analyst. I did it for over 10 years. I played in Excel docs. I mean, I look at things a lot different, but I respect what she was trying to get across. But her argument was, the market doesn't appreciate what Tesla's going to do in AI and then humanoid robots. I mean, but to your point, do you think those arguments are essentially crap?
What I think is that nobody knows the future. What I think, and that I'm sure of, is nobody knows what's 5 years from now. What I think that I'm 100% sure of is that people who have a complete bias towards Elon and Tesla are the worst person to ask about the future, right? Because they're so biased by what has already been told to them. Okay. Now, the simplest way to do it is go around to your neighbors and ask them, how many of you would buy a humanoid robot built by Elon Musk? And the answer is 0. Okay. Nobody wants a robot from Elon Musk. Why? Who would trust it? Okay. My wife said, how would I trust this robot in my house? It's going to follow us around. It's going to listen to us. It's going to know it. How do I know it's not going to kill me? And I said something like, well, how do you know?
I'm canceling my order, Ross. I'm canceling my order.
I said, how do you know Marta's not going to kill you, our housekeeper, And she's like, well, I'm bigger than Marta. And I'm like, well, she's kind of big, I don't know. She could probably take you out. My wife's like, no, I can take Marta. And I go, well, maybe they'll have a big off button on the robot's forehead. So if it starts trying to attack you, you just push it off. Because that's kind of what Elon said. He's like, if the robot goes crazy, it'll just have a big off button, So my fundamental premise is that I love Star Wars and C-3PO would be a wonderful helper in my house, but I have wonderful help already. I love Marta. She's a wonderful person. I have no plans of getting rid of her for a robot anytime soon. And I don't even trust HomePods in my house or the speakers because they're already listening to us. The last thing I need is some robot built by Elon Musk in my house. So I don't know if they thought about the marketing of this at all yet. Okay. So secondly, I view humans, we love not to change, okay? Humans love not changing. We love the past, actually. There's nothing brings me more happiness than watching movies from the 80s, And I tell my kids all the time how lucky...
Ross, you never had me over. I mean, sign me up for some Top Gun.
I was watching Brat Pack movies, Weird Science the other day. Talk about technology. Why don't you invent that? If you're going to invent anything, invent Kelly LeBrock. That would be genius, right? And I would buy that,
We'll
right?
take that offline. We're gonna.
My wife would be like, "You bought Kelly LeBrock robot?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I did. Sorry, she has great skills, and she cleans." And so, I think growing up without technology was one of the greatest gifts of being a Gen Xer. Like growing up where we didn't have iPads and phones and all this stuff that my kids have. I think it was a gift. So the idea that technology is just going to rapidly be implemented by humans is a false reality. In fact, only the best technologies are rapidly, used by humans. And probably the best example recently is ChatGPT, which I use every day. And this technology is phenomenal, but it's an assistant. I don't need it to be a robot. It's super helpful for everything I'm doing now, whether it be research or writing or putting out stuff for my website yesterday, whatever. This is like an AI inflection point. But it's really not about per se robotics, which already exists in Amazon factories and such. It's really about intelligence and like how can we build technology that can really make humans more efficient and productive. But it doesn't necessarily change the way we do things. And that's the way I think it is. So when you see somebody like Donald Trump is incredibly popular in our society, one thing I can guarantee you is that we have not advanced very far.
Ross, hang with us. We're going to go for a quick break, but you're on fire, my friend. We want to come back to you, so just hold on. All right, welcome back to Opening Bid. Here with Gerber Kawasaki, President and CEO Ross Gerber, big giant X following. Almost said Twitter. I mean, I'd be kicked off the set if I said Twitter.
I call it Twitter. I refuse to
right. It is Twitter. All right. So Ross, you're lighting it up. You really you very much enjoy talking Tesla. I always follow your views on X, but you mentioned Trump before we went to break. What do you think the impact to Tesla's sales, its profits, just its overall business because of Elon being all in on the former president this election season?
Well, the good news is, what was that guy's name? Radin Kozic, the Chechenian warlord who brutalized and murders people, got a new Cybertruck. So that's probably good advertising. So Donald Trump got a new Cybertruck. And what I think is, there's probably Republicans lined up by the dozen, to buy Teslas, but actually that's not happening. So, this pivot away from the liberal, climate loving, ocean, tree loving people like me who bought tons of Teslas and want to save the environment to MAGA loving, gun toting, tariff loving people, especially a guy who exports cars. Donald Trump would be the worst thing for Tesla that you could ask for. Not only does he not help sell cars, which hopefully you'd think maybe we'd sell a lot more cars in Louisiana, but I don't think that's happening. But you have this shift to oil, which is what Donald Trump is all about. And so, Donald Trump's supported by the oil industry. The oil industry are his biggest donors. Russia is obviously one of his biggest supporters. And so, the fundamental concept of what Tesla is diametrically opposed to Donald Trump's policies.
Let's play hypotheticals here because, why the hell not? Let's say former President Trump does win 4 more years in the White House and Elon becomes some form of advisor. As a Tesla shareholder, what do you do?
Well, I told you what I've been doing, which is I've been selling off my stock. And so I think Tesla is in a really tough position because they don't advertise. So there's no advertisements that are going to happen anytime soon that promotes the quality of their products, which is still, I think, the best on the road. It's really a quagmire where you have the best products in an industry, but a CEO who doesn't actually work there, who doesn't try to sell the cars, and the company itself doesn't advertise. And we've seen sales go down, and that's what's happening. Sales are going down. If you're expecting a great quarter, you're wrong. They're not selling any Teslas here other than basically discount. If you look at the used car market, it's just flooded with Teslas. I can't even sell the Teslas I have for anything close to what I think they're worth. So this is not good. So here's this great company with all this great potential, but it's basically languishing now because the CEO works at Twitter. And, I don't think there's any confusion what Elon cares about. And if he plays a role in the Trump cabinet, it would be because of Twitter. It's not going to be to benefit Teslas because Elon and Trump want to control the narrative on Twitter, and so that's why they have a relationship. Elon's thinking maybe he'll sell some advertising this way, but it's actually worked the opposite.
Maybe because this is something I'm really passionate about. I am fascinated by succession plans and boards, and I'm still covering what happened between Chipotle and Starbucks recently.
Yeah, what a story that is. Huh?
Just wow. I mean, big time surprise. Is there someone else at Tesla that could run Tesla? Like, what does the succession pipeline look like?
Well, no, I mean, when he rolled out Investor Day, like I think it was almost 2 years ago when I went out there and we were all fighting and I was post running for the board. That was sort of like to mollify me, and like here are all these great executives. If you look at that list of, let's say, 12 or 15 people, most are gone now. And the people who really could run Tesla, who were running Tesla, were all fired, including Zach Kirkhorn and Martin Viace, who were crucially important to Tesla's operations, along with Jerome Guillion, who ran the factories. Anybody who gains any power at Tesla or other Elon companies is immediately dispatched, So, once again, I think if you invest in Tesla, it's Elon's boat and you get on that boat, and where he's going to take you is where it's going to be. But, I fear that Tesla's best days are behind it because of this lack of focus on Tesla. I've lowered the position substantially. I haven't gotten out of the stock because I still think the products are the best in the world. And I think that there's still this upside potential, whether it be in robotics or a full self-driving, that may happen. But as the days go longer, my hope diminishes as I'm invested.
I'm feeling the vibes between us right now, Ross. So I'm just going to roll with this. I'll tell you a quick little story. So I was an analyst. I went to a Starbucks Investor Day in New York City. And I've told a couple close friends about this. Never really made it public. So at the event was Howard Schultz. I'd written some negative things on Starbucks, crunched my numbers, went to the store, did my thing. Came over to me. We talked for like 5 seconds. He called me an a-hole and then walked away. They say you never forget a good insult. But to that end, I mean, Elon has attacked you on X.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that like for you? For me, I think it surprised me when Howard did that to me, and now I've taken it in stride. I think it's funny and maybe a rite of passage. But like, how have you dealt with that?
Well, first of all, I'm honored that Elon takes the time to worry about the things I say, because I know he pays attention to me, whether he likes it or not, or people like it or not. I think ultimately, if you don't understand my goal is to see Tesla be successful, then you don't understand me. You know what I mean? Like, I helped Elon tremendously in 18 and 19 when things were really tough, and, stuck by him and, invested money when nobody else would. It paid off for me. I'm very grateful for that period of time. Those 4 years were great, but the last 3 years have been horrendous. And if a CEO doesn't like the criticism from his investors when those investors might have an opinion that differs from them, that's, I think, actually fairly normal. But then to insult and attack people who don't agree with you is really just the way Elon is. Now, personally, I don't care, like in the sense of people can say whatever they want to say. It's not going to change. I control billions of dollars, and I'm going to allocate it for what's best for my clients. Because what matters to me is my clients and my firm. Like I work with thousands of people who want to live greater lives, and we improve their situations. And if the stock isn't going up, it doesn't improve my clients' situations. And so, I have to earn returns for people who like live off this and send their kids to college with this money, And so if Elon's not performing, and I think there's a huge thing going on, and I say something and his, response is, "You're an idiot." Well, once again, I can just move my money somewhere else, which is what I've done. And what I've done has increased our returns substantially from leaving that money in Tesla. So the 50 or 60 million that I took out of Tesla and I put into other tech stocks, it's gone up substantially. And so we're having an excellent year. My fund's up 17% this year through today. I'm very happy with that. We, are very focused on what I consider the most transformative opportunity in technology since the internet, which is AI. And AI is not going to be Gronk. It's going to be, chat and maybe Google. And I think there are many AI applications that are phenomenal opportunities to look at. I think there's transformative technologies being built that will affect the way that we live over time. And I think it's a great time to be a technology investor. So who needs to, dawdle around in a company where they don't even know what they're going to do next. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I didn't want to label you the Tesla guy, and I'm glad you mentioned up some other things you may be investing
I'm the NVIDIA guy.
that's what
I've been a few guys in my career. I was the Apple guy.
Now that you're the NVIDIA guy. So I want to stay on NVIDIA because I recently had on Eric Jackson over at EAMG. I'm sure you know Eric. Eric made a well thought out call on opening bid, really looking for potential. He thinks that, I believe he told me the stock could double into year end, really laid out a nice case. Are you there? Do you think this next earnings report from NVIDIA is going to lay the groundwork for another doubling? And we're looking at, let's say, maybe a $5 trillion market cap.
So I'm up 300 and something percent in the last, year or something. And now I got to double it again, huh? I think investors have to have some long-term vision for what NVIDIA is doing. I've owned NVIDIA for over a decade, and I'm a gamer. So that's why I own NVIDIA, was from gaming, back in the day. And then I'm a crypto guy, and we owned NVIDIA because of crypto back in the day. And then I was an autonomy guy, and we bought, NVIDIA a lot in 2016 after CES when they, along with Tesla, were talking about autonomy. And so a lot of our NVIDIA, has gone up 100 times. It's been the best investment we've ever made. Now I'm looking at NVIDIA with a forward PE of, it's kind of historical average, actually, like 30 to 40. So NVIDIA is actually just what I consider fair value. It's definitely trading for what it's worth. You know what I mean? It's not cheap by any means. It's not overly expensive because I think the street is still in denial that a company could do so well. 70% margins, 100% growth of revenue. I mean, who does that?
Not normal.
No, I mean, let's look at Tesla on the other hand, right? Revenue's going down, right? And margins are going down and earnings are going down. But then you look at NVIDIA and earnings are more than doubling. I mean, you look at the last 5 years of earnings, it's up hundreds of percent. We can't even figure out a PEG ratio for this stock because we don't know what it's going to grow. So I think looking on a quarter-to-quarter basis is tough because stocks have been selling off after the quarter anyways. It doesn't matter what they report. I think it sells off after the quarter anyways. It's rallying into the quarter and then it sells off after. But if you look at the 30 days, it'll be up. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that said, as a long-term investor, which is what we are, if you don't own NVIDIA, you are literally missing a revolution. It's like not investing in Napoleon during the French Revolution, you know what I mean, or whatever. So it's it very much, I think, has a unique situation or position I've never really seen in business before. It's pretty much a monopoly. You can buy AMD chips, but they don't compete because they don't have the CUDA software.
Sure.
And when you look at the total solution that NVIDIA is offering its customers, nobody can compete. And yet the customers are in an arms race, and these customers have tons of capital to deploy. So the customers themselves, Microsoft, Meta, whoever, have endless capital to deploy and tons of cash flow. And now they're in this game that they've seen what it can do, but they're going to have to invest a lot more to make it really good, But the improvements have been amazingly good just in the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, good insight. We'll have to leave it there. And for those of you wondering, I just want to show up for Ross. The PEG ratio is the price to earnings growth multiple ratio. You can find it on Yahoo Finance under the stats page. Ross Gerber Kawasaki, President and CEO. Good to see you as always. Thanks for always coming on Yahoo Finance, but especially thank you for coming on my opening bid podcast. Really appreciate it. Great insights, man.
No, thanks for having me. I was really honored to be on. I love Yahoo Finance. I use it. So, happy to be on.
Greatly appreciate it. And that's it for the latest episode of Opening Bid.